Okay, let's
Uh,
talk about this. There's a story about a librarian in New Jersey who says he faced discrimination for being a man. He was fired and replaced by a woman who was less qualified. The library staff of 30 is overwhelmingly women, with only 4 men. So this is another one where it's like, and then the next one we're going to talk about is this straight woman claiming that she was discriminated against because I think they chose an LGBT person. So there have been a bunch of these coming up.
so like, listen, I'm never excited about these cases, but they can be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
There's definitely like schools, preschools where you have like men working and they're like, hey, we really prefer women to work with the young kids.
Mm,
And you'll see that. You also see a lot of situations like you'll have male nurses and they only get assigned physically aggressive patients. It's like, hey, I
mm,
understand why you're doing that. This male nurse is, twice the size of the female counterpart,
right.
but you can't have the two people who do the same job. One of them gets beat up all the time because of their gender. That's like a real claim.
Right.
And am I like super pumped to bring, that claim? No, it doesn't really fit with my worldview, but also right is right. And you weren't hiring bouncers, you were hiring nurses. So, like, what are we doing here? Are you going to pay him more? Is there like a special course for him on how to restrain patients? Like, I don't think there is. So,
Right.
if it's not a different job with hazard pay,
Yeah.
what are we doing? And it comes up sometimes in sexual harassment cases. You'll have somebody, manager writes up female employee just says, oh, funny story, you sexually harassed me. Employer says, we believe victims, fires male manager directly.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you think a feel good story, but you stop and think about it, you're like, they didn't investigate. They just believed her because he's a man.
Right.
That is gender discrimination. You have an affirmative duty. You have to
Totally.
investigate. We believe victims because it's our job as attorneys. You come to us, we believe you, we fight for you. That's our job. And part of that's just there's so many people who won't believe you. The employer's job is not to
Yeah.
believe blindly. The employer's job is to say, oh, let us get to the bottom of this so we can do the right thing. And if you just
Yeah.
say, well,
Yeah.
men, you look at him, you look at her, I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe you
That's so
sexually hurt.
problematic.
Yeah, it's not, it can't be. And listen, there's going to be bad actors in the world. There's certainly people, we weed them out nonstop who, are making up claims. And it's obnoxious and it hurts everyone, but it happens and you have to investigate. So I don't call it reverse discrimination. I think that's really stupid. It's just discrimination. Like if you come to somebody like, hey, yeah, we don't like men in this role, okay, that's discrimination. Or listen, there's definitely fashion jobs where there's workplaces that are like, we don't love breeders up here, on this floor. We just don't think you really have the eye for it. And you're like, okay, so you literally just said straight's got to go. Am I excited about that claim? No. Is it a claim? Yeah. Am I going to make money on it? Sure. I'm going to help that person because it's still discrimination. You don't get to,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the same logic is if you're a group that's traditionally downtrodden and then you decide, well, we're not going to hire any of X, Y, and Z protected class because they used to 30 years ago attack us. That's a claim. You just created a claim. You don't get to turn around. Turnabout is not fair play under our set of laws. I'm not saying what's right or wrong, but I'm saying not legal. That's a claim.
Yeah, for sure. And in this other case, in Ohio, this woman who's straight is claiming that that her supervisor, who's gay, was promoting and hiring like a lesbian woman and a gay man over her. And she's like, I support the LGBT community, this woman, but also if there's this pattern and like more qualified than this person, then potentially there is discrimination going on.
Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to is like promoting for diversity is amazing. You
Yeah, for
can't
sure.
just promote because somebody's in a protected class. That's not, that can't be the reason why you choose someone.
And it's also harmful to protected classes
Yeah.
because then it's like tokenism and it feels like that, it also diminishes them as like professionals if it seems that there's just favoritism based on their sexuality or I don't know.
And then you get these ridiculous narratives from that behavior, like, oh, that plane flipped over because of DEI.
Oh my God.
Bet it didn't, but
Oh my God.
they still say
Yeah,
it.
totally. Okay, should we talk about Blake Lively is back in the news? This is like the drama that never ends. It will not
Um,
end with us, or them. It's ongoing. So she amended her complaint on Tuesday in her lawsuit against Baldoni to add two other women who claimed that he made them feel uncomfortable on set. They're anonymous. There's an additional defamation claim. It just, I don't, my like macro question is how is this worth it for any of these people to just be filing lawsuits back and forth? And I get they're powerful and I get that their reputation's on the line and they can afford the best legal help. And, you know, she probably felt over the summer during the promotion of the film that her reputation was totally maligned and wants to fight back. But also, it just feels like, and people so badly want to take sides, and I think people don't know what side to take.
yeah.
I frankly don't know really what to make of it. I mean, I said I don't know. But the fact that two other women have joined, I mean, and if you hear the voice memo that he left her where he's like, "Hey Blake," at like 2 a.m. "Hey Blake," like it does seem that, but it also maybe he has, I don't know, maybe he just has a flirtatious personality in a way, but also he shouldn't be flirtatious. Like, you know, those people who have, they still have boundaries, but they have like they have personalities that are very intense, especially artists. Like I feel like with artists, the lines can get blurred. It's just so hard to know, but I don't know what the out. I guess it will be a trial eventually. Have you been following this?
I mean, did those women actually join because they're anonymous? I don't know if they were added to the caption as plaintiffs. So that's already a question. I come down to this. Justin Baldoni, nobody knew who he was a year
Mm-hmm.
ago. Blake Lively, people knew who she was, but like she wasn't that famous.
Right.
Um, I certainly she wasn't on my radar. You had to explain to me what she had been in. Um, we're at the sunset of Hollywood. Like that kind of fame is dying out very rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't figure out like why the people who are famous now are famous. Like The Rock, like they're like, why is The Rock famous? He was, like, and but like he's one of the biggest ones, and they look at him like, why him? He just eats pancakes. Like, what are we talking about here? And like, listen, I think he's very engaging and whatever. I think he's entertaining, but I don't watch his movies. Yeah, and I think Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively they're probably like, well, we make real art. How do people not know us? This now they do. Now they do. And maybe that's what's happening. All
For
press is
sure.
good press.
I know, but it's, yes. I think that it's just wild that I think it's going to be prolonged for a long time. Like this will be a drama that unfurls over like years potentially. Um
Yeah.
like it's, I don't know. And I think that there's still a lot that we may not know. And then there are some things that like almost are so complex emotionally potentially that like sometimes, and you may disagree with me, but I feel like the law or like law has to put things into buckets and some humans are so complicated like and
Oh, we lost you.
things are so complicated they can't be put into, oh, I'm here, I'm back.
Okay.
Can
Last
you
thing
hear
I
me?
heard was humans are so complicated.
Yeah, humans are so complicated that, and human interactions are so sometimes nebulous and hard for even humans to identify what they are. This is why I actually think AI will not ultimately take over because there are some things that are so that like are a mystery to us. Like we are a mystery to ourselves sometimes. That I think that this is one of those cases where it can't be like categorized into a neat box within the law or within like a psychiatric personality disorder, or like all the ways in which we try to categorize how to make sense of things.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The law is not, it's not subtle, right?
Yeah.
It and people are like, oh, is what you're doing right or wrong? You know, people always give me a hard time. It's like, oh, my friend, I'm so sorry. I'm not here for right and wrong. That's actually when I'm an arbitrator, I'm here for right and wrong.
Yeah.
When I'm a lawyer, when I'm representing someone, I'm here to stack bodies and checks. Like what are we talking about? You know,
Yeah.
like it's just not, oh, I'm not here to find what's right. I'm here to harm you until you give my client money. Like that's not my job unless I put on my arbitrator hat for the American Arbitration Association. And then in which case I get to take a break and say, I get to do good today. You know, that's different. But
Yeah.
I can feel good about helping my clients. I certainly empower my clients, but it's not about finding the subtleties of right and wrong. It's very much about like we're gonna make this happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So I agree with
absolutely.
you wholeheartedly.
And I think this case is like the prime example of there's like everyone's trying to say he harassed her. No, she defamed him. And it's like there is so much complication that just cannot be summarized. And you're right, lawyers on both sides are just looking to tear down the other person. It's not about like, let me think about the scope of this individual or like the breadth of
Yeah.
this individual.
I bet those attorneys are getting paid on an hourly basis though. They're not
Oh my
working on a
God.
percentage
They're,
like a firm like ours would. Because those cases, like Blake's case has a legitimate claim in it. When the allegation is he refused to leave after she told him, like, listen, I'm uncomfortable, I'm breastfeeding, get out of my trailer, and he refused to leave. To me, that's without question a viable claim. That might be the only viable claim in the whole thing. So these
mm,
attorneys are running what could be near frivolous claims on both
wow.
sides, taking risks with their licenses, risking sanctions on trash lawsuits for people who just want to be more famous, I think. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. What a mess. I just can't get over that the film is titled It Ends With Us. Oh my God. Okay,
Do you have anything else?
I think that's it.
We were so efficient today. Ari, it's always a pleasure. Anything you want to add?
No. Just if anyone watching wants to subscribe to my Substack, Vince will include it in the link below. Substack, for people who don't know about it, is a an independent newsletter, and I have some juicy stuff that I write about with some takes on culture and gender relations, and I try to be as independent as I can in my thinking and writing.
Highly recommend the Substack. Big fan. Um, when are you going to be on Breaking Points?
Oh
Very
my
excited
God,
for you to get on
right.
Breaking Points.
Okay, I have to look into that. It's on my increasingly long to-do list.
I
With
feel like
Kristen Ball on the name.
we need to make a donation to their Patreon and be like, hey, I'm just kidding. We
Totally.
don't. You don't need that juice. They would be lucky to have you. All right, everybody, check out the Substack. We're going to do a standalone video for the Substack. Guest piece. We have news. This is now a 6 month. We're gonna try this show out once a week for 6 months. It's gone well. We tried it for a month and it was well received. There was one very angry gentleman, but besides him, it's been very well received. So we're gonna run this for 6 months, and once a week, maybe like the weekend shows, the Saturday Sunday show will be this. We'll it's very exciting, and I think there's value in bringing the news. I think a lot of times the news is presented by journalists, like such as yourself, and that's valuable, but they miss a lot of context. Like Americans first, like that's a tagline, but anti-American discrimination, there's a reality there that you can talk about if you can go a little bit deeper. So I think there's some value to this conversation, and I think we're helping people. All right, it's always a pleasure.
Pleasure, Vince. See you next week.
See you next week. Like, subscribe,
Bye.
comment down below. Go to the Substack. It's a good time. Take care,
Bye.
everybody.